Hello, I hope you're having a good day. Today we will watch the movie called The Dinosaur Project. The story is based on footage found in the Congo weeks after the disappearance of a group of scientists. The footage reveals that the mission was searching for the Mokele Mbembe, a prehistoric reptile that, according to science, became extinct along with the dinosaurs. Although there have been recent sightings, only cryptozoologists investigate such cases, among them Jonathan Marchant, who leads an expedition to prove its existence despite the media's skepticism. He mentions species that were rediscovered after being thought extinct. His team includes a TV crew instructed to always keep filming, as the best images are often accidental. His son Luke, an enthusiastic teenager, documents the journey. However, Jonathan didn't want to bring him. Luke had been expelled from school for leaking embarrassing images of the principal. Jonathan tries to get his ex-wife, Hannah, to take care of him, but she refuses, so Luke joins the team as a cameraman. At the hotel, Luke presents his advanced mini-cameras and shows his determination to participate. Jonathan orders him to stay with his Aunt Rachel, but the boy hides in the helicopter. There they meet Amara from the Congolese Environmental Agency and Charlie Rutherford, Jonathan's assistant, who secretly holds a grudge. Amara introduces the pilot Etienne, in charge of the flight. During the journey, Jonathan explains that the Mokele Mbembe could be a docile plesiosaur or a ferocious pliosaur. Liz Draper, the team's medic, and Amara listen skeptically. In the air, Luke notices unusually large birds flying differently. When he asks Amara, she becomes uneasy. Suddenly, the birds attack the helicopter, shattering the windows and causing it to crash in the jungle. Etienne doesn't survive the impact. Noticing the fuel leak, Jonathan orders everyone away from the wreck. Luke disobeys and returns for his equipment, barely escaping the explosion, earning him a reprimand. When asked about the birds, Jonathan downplays the incident to avoid panic. He also loses patience with the cameraman who keeps filming despite Etienne's death. The group moves through the jungle toward Uti village, ignoring disturbing sounds. Upon arrival, they find the huts abandoned, showing signs of tragedy. Amara, terrified, hides something from the rest. Jonathan decides to spend the night there, even after discovering blood and damage in some huts. Amara warns they shouldn't stay, but no one listens. Luke installs a motion detection camera at the entrance as a precaution, since the radio is broken, and they don't know if Etienne managed to call for help. Liz asks Luke to try fixing the satellite communicators. That night, Dave wakes up to a strange sound and alerts Luke. When they check the camera, they see the ground covered in giant bats. But the true terror comes when a dinosaur appears on screen. Alarmed, the group hears noises around them until a sudden crash plunges them into terrifying silence. Suddenly, the cabin is attacked from all sides. Illuminating the ceiling, they see creatures making a hole, and within seconds, the shelter is invaded. They flee to the river with the monsters right behind them. Liz is attacked along the way and disappears into the darkness. When they reach the boats, they are horrified to see she's missing, but the monsters don't follow them into the water. They decide to stay there until dawn, hoping for a possible air rescue. Suddenly, someone screams after seeing movement in the trees. Moments later, something hits the boat from below, breaking and partially sinking it. The recording cuts off, and when it resumes, the group is on dry land. Jonathan reports they lost a boat and are stranded on an island, but avoids discussing the creature seen in the water. That night, they build a campfire, and Luke questions Amara, who reveals that according to Uti tribal folklore, the jungle hides a portal called a Bobo that leads to a demon realm. Her story is interrupted when several jumping reptiles appear. Jonathan identifies them as Lotosaurus and marvels that they still exist. However, his excitement fades when he sees Luke approaching them with candy. He orders him to stay away, but the dinosaur simply eats the candy and sneezes on him. After the visit, everyone goes to sleep. The next morning, Dave records an argument between Jonathan and Amara. She insists they should leave as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Luke, fascinated by the dinosaurs, names one of them Crypto. With Pitt's help, Charlie puts a collar with a camera on it to study its behavior. Amara refuses to watch the transmission, but Charlie and Jonathan are excited. The plan goes well until Crypto enters a cave and the signal is lost. Charlie, frustrated, lashes out at Luke and proposes taking a boat to follow it. Amara stops him, arguing it's better to go downriver to find another village. Surprisingly, Jonathan agrees. The new goal is survival. This sparks a debate among the scientists and angers Luke, but they must follow the order. During the journey, Charlie and Luke remain in the rear boat as a form of protest while Jonathan leads the group. Suddenly, Crypto's signal returns, showing the dinosaur arriving at a clearing surrounded by tribal totems. As it descends through a tunnel, Crypto dives again, and the camera detaches. The last images show the dinosaur looking upward before a colossal foot lands in front of it. Charlie, excited, claims he saw a fisherman-shaped figure in the rock formation, and concludes they've found the legendary passage, a section of jungle isolated for millions of years where these species have survived in secret. Luke wants to tell his father, but Charlie insists it's a terrible idea. Hours later, the current grows stronger, and the boats separate. The rear one is dragged into a cave, the same one Crypto explored. Amara and Dave want to follow the original plan, but Jonathan refuses to leave without his son. Meanwhile, Charlie and Luke pass through the cave and reach a river with colder, deeper waters. They try to paddle with their hands when they hear Jonathan's voice. Luke shouts, and his father rows with all his strength to reach him. Just as they reunite, the boat shakes violently. Jonathan orders them to stay still as the Mokele Mbembe slowly emerges from the water. The creature is majestic and peaceful. Dave, eager to film, moves to the front of the boat. At that moment, a massive pliosaur leaps out of the water and snatches him, flipping the boat and throwing everyone into the river. Luke and Charlie manage to swim to shore, but the boy can't find the others. He realizes the water is stained red. Charlie, cold and indifferent, insists that no one else survived and that they must get away from the water. He ignores Luke's pain and forces him to keep moving, demanding that he repair the communicator. When the boy finally gets it working, he realizes that Charlie has disappeared. Alarmed, he looks around, but Charlie reappears with a big smile. He's found what he was looking for. Charlie leads him to the totem clearing and the tunnel where Crypto vanished. Just as Luke announces the communicator is fixed, Charlie snatches it from him and pushes him into the pit. Luke falls into the water and nearly drowns. He tries to climb out, but Charlie, flashlight in hand, threatens him again, ready to strike. Luke manages to escape and uses his minicamera to broadcast what happened, hoping someone is watching. Through another camera, it's confirmed that Amara and others are alive. Jonathan also appears, shouting his son's name in desperation. Amara, convinced that Luke and Charlie couldn't have survived, states they entered a place from which no one returns. This reveals that she saw them, reigniting Jonathan's hope. Under pressure, she admits the two were heading toward Abobo, but insists she will not go there under any circumstances. Jonathan accuses her of endangering everyone, as she was the only one who knew about the existence of these creatures before the trip. Amara defends herself, arguing the helicopter crashed far from their intended destination, and she couldn't have predicted they'd end up so close to the cursed passage. Since neither is willing to accompany the other, they decide to separate. Still shaken by Dave's death, Pitt chooses to stay with Jonathan and help him find Luke, while Amara walks away alone. At the same time, Luke records a farewell video for his father, in case Jonathan survived, but he does not. His message is interrupted by footsteps in the forest. He grabs a stick to defend himself, but his expression softens when he sees Crypto has come to meet him. However, the joy is short-lived, as he quickly comes face-to-face with the killer bats. Luke tries to flee but isn't fast enough and is cornered. Just as he's ready to accept his fate, a bat drops dead in front of him, struck by a microphone. Pitt and Jonathan have arrived just in time. Father and son embrace, and Luke barely has time to thank Pitt before he declares he must avenge Dave. Consumed by rage, Pitt charges at the bats, hitting them with his microphone while Luke follows him. They enter an area swarming with the creatures, but Pitt continues fighting fearlessly, fully aware he won't make it out alive. Jonathan is stunned when Luke reveals that Charlie tried to kill him and likely separated the boats on purpose. Luke asks what they'll do now, and his father replies that they need to recover the communicator. Not far away, Charlie speaks to the camera, thrilled by his great discovery. He tells his future followers that although he hasn't seen any dinosaurs yet, he's certain they'll appear soon. Brazenly, he dedicates the find to the memory of the late Luke. Suddenly, Charlie stops and crouches, realizing Jonathan and Luke are tracking him through the jungle. Seeing they are closing in, he decides to set a trap, leaving a false trail that leads them to the edge of a cliff at the foot of a mountain. When Jonathan and Luke arrive, Charlie pushes massive rocks from above, triggering a landslide. Seeing that his father won't survive, Jonathan sacrifices himself, letting go and falling into the void. Devastated, Luke watches his father vanish as Charlie chases him with the communicator in hand, calling his name and trying to lure him out. Then Crypto appears and begins guiding Luke as if he knows the best way to escape. The camera that fell from Luke's neck remains in place, and through it we see Luke arrive, exhausted. Realizing the camera's presence, Luke understands that Crypto has led him to his own home for some reason. However, Charlie finds them and kicks Crypto to the ground. Just as he's about to finish Luke off, Crypto gets up and spits a large glob on him. Charlie laughs mockingly, saying it looks like they weren't such good friends after all. Calmly, Luke stands up and explains that this was a sign of friendship, as Crypto just covered him with his scent. Charlie only realizes the danger when he sees Crypto's parents behind him. One of the dinosaurs approaches Luke, sniffs him, and detects no human scent, making him appear like part of the pack. Charlie, however, isn't so lucky. Before he can utter final words, he's brutally mauled by the dinosaur couple. Finally safe, Luke records his last video, showing the world the dinosaur valley. He explains that the communicator broke again, so he'll need to disassemble the cameras to extract some useful parts. Filling his backpack with all the recorded footage so far, he tosses it into a waterfall before leaving, in case he doesn't survive. Days later, a group of fishermen finds the backpack containing all the videos that tell the story of the expedition. Now, it's up to the world to believe, or not, in the images. I hope you enjoyed the video.